Hello everybody! The research you have conducted is obviously of vital importance and must be shared by the widest possible audience. Here is how to do it. Fortunately, so many medical journals now exist that your chances of not having the work published somewhere are small. Nevertheless, the paper must be constructed in the approved manner and presented to the highest possible standards. Editors, without doubt, will reject scruffy manuscripts, regardless of the quality of your data. The basic structure of a paper is summarized by the acronym INRED, which stands for Introduction. What question was asked? Methods. How was it studied? Results. What was found? And discussion. What do the findings mean? But the recommended order for you to write an original paper is to start with your tables and figures, followed by results, materials and methods, introduction, discussion, abstracts, and finally the title page and keywords. And the most important, a tip. Break your writing task into small and realistic goals. For instance, 500 words a day. So, let's start with the tables and figures. Tables and figures are essential features of your paper. Be careful with the numbers. They should stand alone and be complete. The reader should not need to refer back to the main text. Do not present the same data in figures, tables, or text. As advantages, figures have visual impact, show trends and patterns, tell the whole story in a quick manner, and highlight a particular result. Tables give precise values, and they display many values and variables all together. Title. Identify the specific topic or point of the table. Use the same terms in the table title, the column headings, and the text of the paper. And regarding table footnotes, use superscript symbols to identify footnotes and follow the journal guidelines strictly. Use them to explain statistically significant differences, for instance, the p-value, to explain experimental details or abbreviations. Regarding table formatting, follow strictly the journal's guide to authors. Use Roman or Arabic numbers, title, column, headings, and data. They should be centered or left-sided. Use capital letters and italics when needed. Most journals use 3 horizontal lines, one above the column headings, one below the column headings, and one below the data. Don't forget the units. And remember, don't be sloppy. Journal editors hate sloppiness. Adhere meticulously to the guidelines to authors, paying significant attention to detail. Do exactly what the guidelines dictate, no more, no less, and make the editor's life easier. Here an example of a table. Please note the 3 horizontal lines, 1, 2, and 3. Tables should be kept to the minimum necessary to answer the hypothesis. Remember that a table is used not only to present data, but also to show relationships. A table should be visually easy to read. Illustrations are used to visually display results as primary evidence, graphs, which tell us a quick visual story, and drawings and diagrams. And here, some great graphic resources are this online design tool, such as Canva, and this free medical images resource, the Smart Surveyor. Regarding figure legends, the figures, they should stand alone. They may contain brief title, essential experimental details, definitions of symbols, or line bar patterns, and statistical information, the used tests, p-values, etc. Regarding line graphs, they show trends over time, age or dose, for instance. Bar graphs, they compare groups at one time point. Scatter plots, they show relationships between two variables, for instance, linear correlation, and they allow reader to see individual data points and their tendency. And here you will find other graphs types. Make them visually easy to read. Now the results. They should summarize the findings, point out simple relationships, describe big picture trends, and cite figures or tables that present supporting data. Do not repeat the numbers that are already available in tables and figures, but complement them. For instance, report the percent change or difference if absolute values were already given in the table. Break into subsections with heading. It will facilitate the life of the reader. And highlight only the most important numbers in the text. Results. Tips 1. Highlight the most important data. Don't forget to talk about negative and control results. Use the term significant for statistically significant only. And remember, what or how you did should be reserved to the methods section. To comment on the meaning of your results, only in the discussion section. Tips 2. The past tense is used for completed actions. We found that. And the present tense for assertions and what the literature shows. For instance, figure 1 shows the findings confirm. We believe that this shows, etc. Use the active voice whenever possible and avoid starting every sentence with we. Now, the materials and methods. You must describe in logical sequence how your study was designed and executed, and how you analyze the data. Make sure you met all the standards of ethics in research. Describe your materials, the drugs used, cell lineage, gaze, reagents, etc., and the participant subjects when animals. Previous approval is required from the ethics committee, and for humans also. Describe your experimental protocol, your study design. Use a flow chart. Describe your measures, dependent and independent variables. How were they measured? The instruments, survey, questionnaires, exams, etc. Your analytical methods: who, what, when, where, how, and why. And your verbal tense should be past. We measured, but use present tense to describe how data are presented in the paper. For instance, data are summarized as below. Give a clear overview of what was done with enough information to replicate the study like an instruction manual. Be thorough and reader-friendly. Break into smaller sections with subheadings. Cite a reference for previously used methods, as this example shown. And whenever possible, display in a flow diagram or timeline. You may use jargon and the passive voice more liberally in the methods section. Now, the introduction. Please don't use no more than 2 to 5 paragraphs. Be concise and clear. Introduces the subject to the main public in a standardized manner. In the first paragraph, the background and what is known. Second paragraph, epidemiology and magnitude of this problem. In the third paragraph, the knowledge gap, what is not known, limitations of previous studies. And the fourth paragraph, therefore, the objective of your study to fill in this gap as a funnel. It is not an exhaustive review of your topic. You should focus on the specific hypothesis and aim of the study. Focus. Take the reader step by step from what is known to what is unknown. Explicitly state your research question hypothesis. You are the one who reviewed the literature. Highlight the novelty and importance of your approach. So, the standard structure of an introduction is up to 5 paragraphs in a funnel-shaped manner. Starting with the background, what is already known, what is unknown, the limitations and gaps in previous studies, and finally, your hypothesis, your burning question, the relevance and novelty of your approach. State the objective of your study. Now, the discussion. The biggest challenge. In the first paragraph, you should highlight again your main findings. In the following paragraphs, the context. Explain your findings, comparing them with other studies, discussing how your results relate to your hypothesis or not. Discuss the strength of your study, its originality and novelty, its relevance and implications. And in the next to last paragraph, the limitations. Be honest. Anticipate yourself to the reviewer's comments. And for the last paragraph, the conclusion, which may or may not be in a separate section according to the journal's rules. What does your study add to the literature? What are your answers to the objective of your study? Additionally, you may suggest external validation, further studies, and future steps. They are the take-home message. The discussion should not be more than 1/3 of the total length of the manuscript. Avoid common errors. Repetition of data already given in the results section, for example. A belief that the methods were beyond any criticisms. And the citation of large numbers of references is an indicator of insecurity and not of scholarship. Please remember, if there if there has been no progress, it indicated that your study was of little value. And regarding abstract, it is an overview of your study. It highlights from each section of your paper. 10% of the readers will not go further on your paper. In fact, many people will read the title of your paper and some will read the abstract, but very few will read the complete texts. Make sure it has limited length of 300 to 500 words and make sure that it stands on its own. Its structure involves the background, the question, aim, hypothesis, the methods, study design, subjects, the results, and the conclusion, the answer to your question, the take-home message, what was found, implication of your findings. And finally, the title page. And let's start with the authorship issues, the most sensitive. Remember to follow the authorship criteria from the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. Make sure that all the authors have read and contributed to the manuscript. Would they be willing to stand up in public to defend their work? And 2 tips for you. First, how to find journals where you can publish your study. Use this journal finder. It's really useful. And Mesh on Demand identifies keywords for your study. And also, when identifying these keywords, this Mesh on Demand will also list PubMed similar articles relevant to your submitted text. Therefore, you can use these as examples to think carefully on your title. At last, some useful tips. For instance, when English is well below the minimum required by your journal, it means immediate rejection of the paper, so pay attention to the details or use English editing services. And I recommend you this Grammarly, it's really useful. And here you will find other resources as you can find it here. And please pay attention to this list of predatory journals. After publishing your first paper, you will be invited to publish by diverse other journals or to attend to conferences worldwide. Please be careful. Not all invitations are well-intentioned. This is a list of possibly predatory journals. Do not publish there if you care about your scientific reputation. Thank you all for your attention. Bye bye!